everyone. Relationships are built on trust, love, and respect. But what happens when a man finds himself involved with two women at the same time? This situation is not only complicated, but it also carries emotional, moral, and ethical consequences. Today I want to address the reality of such circumstances, the impact on all parties involved, and why honesty and accountability should always take precedence. First, let's acknowledge that dealing with two women at the same time is unfair to both. It often involves deception, broken promises, and ultimately pain. Love should be built on mutual respect. But when a man divides his attention between two women, he risks losing both. Second, it is important to recognize that every action has consequences. When a man juggles two relationships, he creates a web of lies that will eventually collapse. No matter how careful he is, the truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, the damage can be irreversible. Third, let's talk about respect. A man who truly respects the women in his life will not put them in a position of uncertainty. Instead of playing with emotions, a mature man chooses integrity. Fourth, love should never be selfish. If a man finds himself torn between two women, he should ask himself, is he truly in love or is he just satisfying his own desires? Real love is about commitment and loyalty. No woman deserves to be an option or a second choice, because love should be about mutual devotion, respect, and prioritization. When a man is involved with two women, he automatically places one or even both in a position where they feel uncertain about their worth and significance in his life. A woman who is in love expects to be cherished and valued, not to feel like she is merely one of the choices available to a man who cannot make up his mind. Being treated as an option rather than a priority can have a lasting emotional impact, causing feelings of insecurity, self-doubt, and heartbreak. No one enters a relationship with the hope of being second best or competing for attention. Every woman deserves a partner who sees her as irreplaceable, someone who is chosen wholeheartedly and without hesitation. When a man divides his attention between two women, he robs them of the security that comes from a fully committed relationship. A true relationship should not feel like a competition where one person is constantly trying to prove their worth to be picked over someone else. Love should be based on certainty, where both partners know they are valued, appreciated, and loved exclusively. Women who find themselves in such situations often experience emotional exhaustion as they are forced to question their significance in the man's life. It is unfair to put someone in a position where they feel the need to constantly prove their love, worth, and importance, just to gain the attention and loyalty of a partner. A real man will not place a woman in such a painful and confusing situation. Instead, he will respect her enough to be honest about his feelings and intentions. If a man is truly unsure about who he wants to be with, the most respectful choice is to step back, evaluate his emotions, and avoid leading both women on. It is important to recognize that love is not a game where people can be picked up and dropped at convenience. Women deserve commitment, security, and above all, the certainty that they are loved exclusively, not merely kept around as an option for when it suits the man's desires. A woman should never have to question her worth or wonder if she is simply a backup plan for when things do not work out with someone else. True love does not allow for indecision, divided loyalty, or manipulation. A woman's time, energy, and emotions are valuable, and they should not be wasted on someone who does not see her as his one and only. Open communication is better than misleading someone, because honesty fosters trust, clarity, and emotional security in any relationship. When a man is dealing with two women at the same time, the lack of open communication creates confusion, pain, and betrayal. Many men in such situations rely on secrecy and deception to maintain both relationships, thinking they can keep things under control. However, the truth always has a way of surfacing, and when it does, the damage is often irreversible. If a man is honest about his feelings and intentions from the beginning, it allows both women to make informed decisions about whether they want to continue being involved with him. Instead of making false promises or leading someone on, he should have the courage to be upfront about his situation. Love and relationships should never be built on half-truths or hidden agendas. When communication is open, misunderstandings are minimized, and there is room for mutual respect, even if difficult conversations must take place. Many women value honesty above all else, and they would rather hear the truth, even if it is painful, than be misled into believing in a future that does not exist. A man who truly respects the women in his life will not waste their time with dishonesty or secrecy. Instead of creating a false sense of security while juggling two relationships, he should communicate his emotions and intentions clearly. If he is unsure about who he wants to be with, he should admit it rather than stringing both along. Open communication allows for transparency, which is necessary for any healthy relationship. Misleading someone not only damages trust but also causes emotional harm that may take years to heal. A man who fails to communicate openly may find himself losing both women in the end because neither will want to be with someone who cannot be truthful. Lies may provide temporary comfort, but they eventually unravel, leaving pain and resentment behind. When people feel deceived, they lose their ability to trust, and that can have long-term effects on their ability to love again. Instead of making someone feel disposable, a man should choose to be honest from the start. He should communicate his intentions, his doubts, and his decisions clearly, allowing both women to make the right choices for themselves. A relationship without open communication is built on shaky ground, and sooner or later it will crumble under the weight of dishonesty. Maturity means making the right decision and not playing with emotions, because real men take responsibility for their actions and understand the impact they have on others. Immaturity leads to reckless behavior where a man may entertain two women at the same time without thinking about the consequences. A mature man, however, knows that love is not a game, and that the feelings of others should not be treated lightly. Playing with emotions might bring temporary pleasure, but it ultimately causes pain, loss, and regret. When a man refuses to choose between two women and instead enjoys the attention from both, he is acting out of selfishness rather than love. Maturity requires self-awareness and accountability, recognizing when one's actions are harmful and making the necessary choices to prevent further damage. A man who is emotionally mature understands that keeping two women in his life while being dishonest with both is not only unfair but also a reflection of his inability to commit and make responsible choices. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations or delaying a decision for his own comfort, a mature man will take action, even if it means hurting someone temporarily in order to prevent greater pain in the future. Growth and maturity come with the ability to prioritize integrity over temporary pleasure. It is easy to be selfish and indulge in multiple relationships, but it takes real strength to be honest, make a choice, and stay committed to one person. Some men think that playing with emotions makes them desirable or powerful, but in reality it only exposes their lack of emotional intelligence and respect for others. Women deserve a partner who is mature enough to make up his mind and stand by his decision. A man who continuously jumps between two women is not only hurting them, but also stunting his own personal growth. Real men understand that relationships require effort, commitment, and the ability to make choices based on what is right rather than what feels good in the moment. By refusing to play with emotions and making a clear decision, a man proves his maturity and respect for the women involved. There is no honor in stringing along two women, creating false hope or causing unnecessary heartache. Maturity is shown through responsibility, honesty, and the ability to make choices that reflect integrity rather than selfishness. True love is not selfish. It requires commitment and loyalty because real love is about giving, not just receiving. When a man is dealing with two women, he must ask himself whether he is truly in love or simply satisfying his own desires. Love is not about keeping multiple options open for personal gain. It is about dedicating oneself to another person wholeheartedly. Selfishness in love leads to deception, emotional instability, and broken trust. A man who is unwilling to commit fully to one woman is not truly in love. He is merely enjoying the benefits of affection and attention without taking responsibility for the emotions involved. Love requires effort, dedication, and sacrifice, not the exploitation of another person's feelings. Loyalty is one of the most essential elements of a lasting relationship. It signifies trust, security, and a sense of belonging. Without loyalty, there is no true foundation for love. A selfish man who divides his attention between two women does not offer them the emotional security they deserve. Instead, he creates an atmosphere of doubt, insecurity, and instability. True love means choosing one person every day, even when challenges arise, and proving through actions, not just words, that they are irreplaceable. A relationship built on selfishness is bound to fail, because love cannot thrive in dishonesty and indecision. A man who truly values love will never put himself in a situation where he has to choose between two people because his heart will already be devoted to one. Commitment is not just about staying in a relationship. It is about making the conscious decision to be faithful, to nurture the relationship, and to respect the other person's feelings. When a man is truly in love, he does not seek the attention of another woman because his heart and mind are already occupied with the one he cherishes. Commitment and loyalty are what separate real love from temporary infatuation or selfish indulgence. A man who is truly in love will put his partner's happiness above his fleeting desires. He will understand that love is not about what he can get, but about what he can give. True love requires discipline, emotional maturity, and the ability to make decisions that honor both himself and his partner. No woman deserves to be an option or a second choice, because every woman deserves to be loved fully, not shared between two conflicting emotions. When a man is involved with two women at the same time, one or both of them inevitably feel like they are not enough. Love should never be about competition or uncertainty. A woman in a relationship should not have to question whether she is truly valued or if she is merely a temporary fixture in a man's life. She should never feel like she has to fight for attention, affection, or commitment. Being treated as an option damages self-worth and creates unnecessary emotional distress. No woman should have to wonder if the man she loves is also sharing his love, time, and energy with someone else. A relationship is based on exclusivity, where both partners know they are each other's priority. When a woman is treated as a second choice, she may feel the need to prove her worth, which is unfair and emotionally exhausting. Love should bring security, not anxiety. A woman who is truly loved does not have to ask where she stands, because her partner will make it clear through his actions. A man who keeps two women in his life is not being fair to either of them. He is only satisfying his own desires while disregarding their emotions. He is robbing them of the opportunity to be in a relationship where they are the only one, not just one of two. A woman who is in love deserves to be loved just as fiercely in return, without hesitation, doubt, or divided attention. She should be someone's first choice, not an afterthought. When a man truly values a woman, he will never put her in a position where she questions her importance. He will make it clear that she is the only one who holds his heart. A relationship built on uncertainty and divided emotions will never lead to happiness. A man who truly respects the women in his life will not keep them waiting for a decision. He will make one, and he will make it with integrity. A man should communicate openly rather than stringing both women along, because honesty is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. Many men in such situations avoid difficult conversations because they fear the consequences of telling the truth. However, avoiding the truth only prolongs the pain and leads to deeper wounds. Open communication is not just about telling the truth when convenient, it is about being clear and transparent from the start. When a man hides his involvement with two women, he is not only deceiving them but also disrespecting their right to make informed decisions about their own lives. Women deserve to know the truth so that they can decide whether they want to continue the relationship or walk away. When a man fails to communicate openly, he creates a cycle of lies that becomes harder to maintain over time. Small deceptions turn into bigger ones, and before long the entire relationship is built on falsehoods. When the truth eventually comes out, the emotional damage is far worse than if honesty had been practiced from the beginning. Trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. A man who truly values the women in his life will not play games with their emotions. He will respect them enough to be truthful, even if it means facing uncomfortable conversations. Instead of making false promises, misleading them with half-truths, or keeping them in a state of confusion, he should express his real intentions and feelings. If he is uncertain about what he wants, he should be upfront about it, rather than pretending to be fully committed to both. Communication is not just about speaking, it is about listening, understanding, and making sure that both parties feel heard and valued. A woman should never have to beg for honesty or chase after answers. A real man communicates clearly, takes responsibility for his actions, and ensures that his words align with his behavior. Choosing to be truthful instead of deceitful is what separates a mature, responsible man from someone who merely enjoys playing with emotions. Deception and divided attention lead to inevitable consequences. When a man divides his attention between two women, he may believe he is in control of the situation. But deception always has consequences. Lies, no matter how carefully crafted, eventually unravel. Maintaining two relationships simultaneously requires constant effort to cover up the truth, which creates an emotional burden for everyone involved. The man may think he can keep both women satisfied by balancing his time and affection, but in reality, he is setting himself up for failure. The emotional and mental strain of juggling two relationships will eventually take its toll. One small slip-up, an unexpected encounter, or even a simple change in behavior can reveal the truth. The moment either woman discovers she is not the only one, trust is broken and betrayal sets in. The pain of realizing that love and loyalty were being shared with someone else is devastating. Once deception is exposed, it is almost impossible to regain the trust that has been lost. The emotional damage caused by betrayal can last a lifetime, making it difficult for those involved to trust in future relationships. Not only does the man risk losing both women, but he also risks damaging his own self-respect and reputation. People talk, and once it becomes known that a man has played with emotions and lied to those who cared for him, it will be difficult for him to find genuine love in the future. Deception does not only affect the relationships he is currently in, it can affect his personal growth, friendships, and how others perceive him. Relationships built on lies are never sustainable, and the longer the deception continues, the more painful the fallout will be. No matter how confident or clever a man may think he is, he cannot escape the reality that divided attention will eventually lead to losing everything. Instead of trying to maintain multiple relationships through dishonesty, it is far better to be honest, take responsibility, and make a choice before irreparable harm is done. Respect is one of the most important qualities in any relationship, and a man who truly respects women will never put them in a position of uncertainty or confusion. Love should be clear and reassuring, not filled with doubt and emotional instability. A man who keeps two women in his life is not showing them respect. He is prioritizing his own desires over their emotional well-being. When a woman is left uncertain about where she stands, she is forced to question everything: her worth, her place in the relationship, and whether she is being treated as a priority or just a convenience. Respect means valuing a woman's time, emotions, and commitment. It means giving her the clarity she deserves, not leaving her to wonder if she is the only one or if she is just another option. A woman who loves a man wholeheartedly should never have to experience the pain of uncertainty, because real love does not involve making someone feel like they are competing for affection. A respectful man understands that relationships require honesty and integrity, not mind games and deception. He does not string multiple women along for his own benefit, nor does he make promises he cannot keep. Instead, he ensures that his actions align with his words, showing love and commitment through consistency. When a man respects a woman, he will never allow her to experience the anxiety of not knowing whether she is truly valued. He will communicate openly, treat her with kindness, and make sure she feels emotionally secure. True respect means being responsible enough to commit to one person and making them feel cherished instead of leaving them in doubt. It is easy to take advantage of someone's love, but a man of character will never abuse the trust and devotion of those who care for him. A man who respects women does not treat them as options, play with their emotions, or put them in a position where they feel uncertain about his intentions. Instead, he gives them the love, respect, and loyalty they deserve. One of the key signs of maturity is the ability to make difficult decisions even when they are uncomfortable. A mature man understands that love is not a game, and that emotions should not be manipulated for personal gain. Playing with emotions, keeping two women in confusion, giving false hope, and leading them on is a sign of immaturity and selfishness. A responsible man acknowledges that his actions have consequences and that every decision he makes affects not only himself but also those who trust and care for him. He understands that love requires commitment, not indecision or manipulation. Instead of taking advantage of the love and affection of two women, a mature man will make a choice and stick to it. He will not delay the inevitable or keep both women in limbo simply because he enjoys the attention and validation. Playing with emotions may seem harmless at first, but it creates deep emotional wounds that can take years to heal. When a man fails to make a decision, he is not only hurting the women involved, but also proving that he is not ready for a serious relationship. Immaturity leads to unnecessary heartbreak, while maturity leads to clarity, responsibility, and emotional stability. A man who continuously shifts between two women, making excuses instead of making a decision, is only setting himself up for failure. Sooner or later, both women will see through his actions and walk away, leaving him with nothing but regret. True maturity means understanding the value of love and relationships and treating them with the seriousness they deserve. Instead of entertaining two women for his own benefit, a mature man will respect their emotions and be honest about his intent. He will take accountability for his actions and ensure that he does not cause unnecessary pain. In the end, maturity is about making choices that align with integrity rather than selfish desires. The universe has a way of balancing things out, and a man who plays with the emotions of two women will eventually face the consequences of his actions. It may not happen immediately, but sooner or later, the pain he has caused will come back to him. Many people believe in the idea that what we put into the world, whether good or bad, eventually returns to us. If a man deceives, manipulates, and takes advantage of others, he should not be surprised when he experiences the same kind of betrayal or heartbreak in the future. It is easy to believe that actions have no consequences. But life has a way of teaching lessons in unexpected ways. A man who lies to women, leads them on, and refuses to make a choice will one day find himself in a position where he experiences the same pain he once caused. Perhaps he will fall in love with someone who does not take him seriously, or he will be placed in a situation where he feels the emotional turmoil he once inflicted on others. Relationships should be built on sincerity, not deceit. Those who manipulate and play with feelings may enjoy short-term satisfaction, but long-term happiness will always elude them. They will struggle to find genuine connections because their past actions will haunt them, either through guilt or through similar experiences happening to them. Karma does not forget. And whether it is through lost love, regret, or emotional emptiness, a man who mistreats others will eventually face the consequences. A truly wise man understands this and chooses to act with integrity from the beginning. Instead of causing pain and leaving a trail of broken hearts, he will choose honesty, faithfulness, and love. He will recognize that real happiness comes from treating people with kindness and respect, not from using them for temporary pleasure. At the end of the day, the way a man treats others will determine how he is treated in return. If he chooses to be faithful and truthful, he will find lasting happiness. But if he chooses dishonesty and manipulation, he will eventually face the same pain he once inflicted. Honesty is the foundation of any strong relationship. Honesty is the most crucial element in any successful and meaningful relationship. Without it, trust cannot exist, and without trust, love eventually falls apart. A man who is involved with two women at the same time, without being honest, is building his relationships on deception, and no relationship built on lies can truly last. Many men believe that hiding the truth will allow them to maintain control, but in reality, dishonesty only leads to emotional turmoil, stress, and inevitable heartbreak. When a man lies about his intentions, his feelings, or his involvement with another woman, he is not only disrespecting the women in his life but also setting himself up for failure. Eventually, the truth always comes to light, and when it does, the damage caused is often irreparable. A woman who discovers she has been deceived will struggle with feelings of betrayal, insecurity, and self-doubt. Even if she chooses to stay, the relationship will never be the same because the foundation of trust has been shattered. True love thrives in an environment of openness, where both partners feel secure in knowing that they are being respected. When a man is honest, even in difficult situations, he proves that he is trustworthy and capable of handling a relationship with integrity. A strong relationship requires both partners to feel safe in expressing their emotions, concerns, and expectations. When a man chooses deception, he removes that sense of safety, creating an environment filled with doubt and suspicion. A woman should never have to question whether she is being told the truth in her own relationship. She should never have to search for clues, doubt her partner's words, or feel the need to investigate his actions. A man who truly loves and respects a woman will never put her in a position where she has to question his honesty. Instead, he will be upfront, transparent, and clear about his intentions. Even if the truth is difficult to hear, it is always better than a comforting lie. Lies only delay the inevitable and cause more pain in the long run. A man who values his relationships and the people in his life will choose honesty, not because it is easy, but because it is the right thing to do. Love should be about quality, not quantity. Love is not about how many people you can win over. It is about how deeply you can connect with one person. A man who is involved with two women at the same time may believe that he is living the best of both worlds, but in reality he is missing out on the depth and beauty of a true committed relationship. When love is divided between two people, it loses its intensity and authenticity. True love requires full attention, effort, and dedication. A man cannot give his heart fully to one woman while keeping another in the background. Love is not meant to be shared between multiple people in secrecy. It thrives when two individuals commit to one another wholeheartedly. A relationship based on deep emotional connection is far more fulfilling than one based on fleeting excitement and temporary pleasure. A man who truly understands love will not be satisfied with surface-level connections. He will seek a bond that is unbreakable and profound. When a man is torn between two women, it is often because he is chasing quantity over quality, believing that having more options will bring him greater happiness. However, true fulfillment in love does not come from keeping multiple people around. It comes from building something real and lasting with one person. Love is about consistency, loyalty, and growing together through life's challenges. A man who is constantly dividing his attention between two women is not truly experiencing love, he is merely engaging in emotional indulgence. The depth of love cannot be reached when time, energy, and emotions are split between multiple people. It is only when a man fully dedicates himself to one woman that he experiences the true power of love. A relationship built on mutual trust, effort, and unwavering commitment is far more valuable than a situation where emotions are scattered and divided. Instead of focusing on having more, a man should focus on loving one person the right way, with his whole heart, without distractions or divided affections. A man who believes he can successfully juggle two women without consequences is fooling himself. Lies may work in the short term, but they always unravel over time. No matter how skilled someone is at deception, the truth has a way of surfacing when least expected. It could be a slip of the tongue, an unexpected message, an unplanned meeting, or even the intuition of the women involved. The more lies a man tells, the more complicated his life becomes. He must constantly keep track of his words, his actions, and the stories he has told to each woman. This leads to stress, anxiety, and paranoia because the fear of being caught is always present. Relationships are meant to be a source of peace and happiness, not a game of constantly covering up the truth. When a man lies, he may think he is protecting himself, but in reality he is setting himself up for greater loss. The moment his deception is exposed, both women will feel betrayed and he will lose their trust, respect, and love. No woman wants to be with a man who cannot be honest, and once a man is labeled as a liar, it becomes difficult for him to rebuild his reputation. The pain of being deceived leaves emotional scars that do not fade easily. When trust is broken, it is nearly impossible to restore. Even if one of the women chooses to stay, the relationship will always carry the weight of past dishonesty. Lies destroy the very foundation of love, turning what could have been a strong and meaningful relationship into a painful and regrettable experience. Instead of living in fear of being exposed, a man should choose the path of honesty from the beginning. It may require courage, but it will always lead to a healthier and more fulfilling relationship in the long run. The truth may hurt at first, but it is far less damaging than a lie that eventually comes to light. A man who truly loves will never create emotional suffering. Love is about bringing joy, security, and happiness, not pain, confusion, and heartache. A man who truly loves a woman will never put her in a situation where she has to suffer emotionally because of his actions. Keeping two women in a relationship without their knowledge or agreement is a selfish act that leads to unnecessary pain. Love should be a source of peace, not a cause of sleepless nights, doubt, and heartache. A man who plays with emotions for his own benefit is not acting out of love but out of self-interest. When a woman gives her heart to someone, she does so with the expectation of receiving the same love and respect in return. If she later finds out that her partner has been dishonest and involved with another woman, the emotional pain can be unbearable. It can lead to feelings of worthlessness, betrayal, and a loss of self-confidence. Love should never be a source of suffering. Yet, when a man chooses to deceive, he creates a situation where pain is inevitable. A real man understands that his actions have consequences and that love is not something to be played with. He will not cause emotional suffering to the women in his life just to satisfy his own desires. Instead, he will act with integrity, ensuring that his relationship is based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. Love should bring emotional security, not insecurity. A man who truly loves will make sure that his partner feels safe, valued, and cherished, not doubtful and heartbroken. Instead of causing pain, he will work towards building a relationship that is filled with happiness, understanding, and emotional stability. Love is meant to be a source of strength, not a source of suffering. And a man who understands this will never put a woman through unnecessary emotional distress. A strong relationship is built on exclusivity, not divided emotions. A real relationship requires full commitment, not divided attention. When a man is involved with two women at the same time, he is not giving either of them the full love and devotion they deserve. So relationship flourishes when two people commit to each other fully, without distractions, doubts, or external interference. When emotions are divided, love loses its depth and the relationship becomes unstable. A woman in love should never have to compete for her partner's attention or feel like she is sharing his affection with someone else. Exclusivity creates a bond of trust and emotional security, while divided emotions create doubt, jealousy, and resentment. If a man is not ready to commit to one person, he should not enter a serious relationship. It is unfair to ask for loyalty while being unwilling to give it in return. A strong relationship is one where both partners know they are each other's only priority. True love is not about keeping multiple options. It is about choosing one person every day with full commitment and dedication. The emotional toll of being involved with two women is inevitable. When a man decides to juggle two relationships at the same time, he may initially feel excited, powerful, or in control. However, what he fails to realize is the heavy emotional burden that comes with it. Balancing two women requires constant effort, secrecy, and deception, which creates an immense psychological strain. It is not just about maintaining the lies, but also about managing the emotions of both women, ensuring neither one suspects the truth while keeping his own emotions in check. The longer he continues, the more exhausting it becomes. He must remember what he told each woman, keep track of different conversations, and ensure that his actions do not contradict his words. Every phone call, text message, and meeting becomes a calculated move, turning what should be a loving and natural experience into a stressful and manipulative game. Over time, this emotional pressure starts to take a toll. Anxiety and paranoia begin to creep in as he constantly worries about getting caught. He may lose sleep, struggle to focus on other areas of his life, and even develop feelings of guilt that weigh him down. At first, he might justify his actions by telling himself that he loves both women or that he is not hurting anyone, but deep down he knows that the situation is unsustainable. As the emotional burden grows heavier, his patience wears thin, his mood fluctuates, and he starts making mistakes. The risk of being exposed increases, and so does the emotional damage for everyone involved. The women, unaware of each other, may begin sensing changes in his behavior. Perhaps he becomes distant, irritable, or inconsistent. They might start questioning his loyalty, leading to arguments, emotional distress, and a breakdown of trust. Even if the truth remains hidden for a long time, the emotional toll on the man himself is unavoidable. He may feel momentary pleasure or validation from having two women adore him, but in the end, he will experience exhaustion, stress, and the weight of knowing he is living a dishonest life. Love is meant to bring happiness, peace, and fulfillment, not stress, guilt, and anxiety. A man who truly values himself and the women in his life will understand that the emotional consequences of deception are far greater than the temporary thrill of having multiple relationships. No matter how much he thinks he can handle it, no man can escape the emotional cost of playing with hearts. The burden of dishonesty, guilt, and emotional strain will eventually catch up with him, affecting not just his relationships but his overall well-being and peace of mind. In the end, love and relationships should be built on trust, honesty, and respect. A man who values himself and the people in his life will understand that true happiness comes from sincerity, not deception. Playing with emotions may bring temporary excitement, but it always leads to pain, regret, and loss. Instead of chasing short-term gratification, a man should strive for genuine, meaningful connections that bring lasting fulfillment. Choosing one woman and giving her the love, loyalty, and commitment she deserves will always be more rewarding than living a life of divided affections and hidden truths. Real love is not about having many options. It's about making the right choice and standing by it with integrity.